today we're going to work on page 3 in our packet, and we're going to do some of the problems on here a little bit differently than what the directions ask us to. But for the first 3 we're going to follow the directions. It says state the x and the y intercepts of each equation, and then we're going to use those to graph. So let's look at the first one. And I just have a piece of notebook paper because there's not a lot of room, so you might want to go ahead and get some notebook paper so you can show your work. So number 1, we have 3x plus y equals 9. And remember, when you're looking for the x and y intercepts, you want to replace one of the variables with 0. So if you're solving for y, then you're going to replace x with 0. So we're going to write, let me do this over here. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to replace the y with 0. And when I'm looking for the y-intercept, I'm going to replace x with 0. So that's what my 2 equations are going to look like. So this one, I'm going to have 3x equals 9. And in this one, since 3 times 0 is 0, I'm just going to have y equals 9. Well, that one's done. So I would have a point at 0, 9. Since y is my 9, x is 0, y is 9. Remember, we replaced x with 0. And this one we're going to divide by 3. So I would have x equals 3. So now we're done with that one. So remember, y was 0. So I can write this as 3, 0. So x was 3, y was 0. So if you look at your graph now, let's look at our graph here. So I need, what I notice is there's no axis drawn for x and y. So you're going to have to draw your own. So that means you can pretty much center it anywhere you want to on your graph. So if you look ahead and see where your points are going to be, I notice on the y-axis we're going to need to be able to count up 9. But we can change our scale. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and center this pretty evenly here. Maybe down a little bit. A little bit less than half, and I'm going to count each line as 2, like that. Okay, so I have enough room here, and now I'm going to put my points on there. So I have a point at 3, 0, which is going to be in between 2 and 4. And then I have a point at 0, 9, which is going to count up, and it's going to be between 8 and 10. And so now I can connect those, and I have my line. So go ahead and do the number 2 and 3 using the same method that I just used for number 1. Now, when you do numbers 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to change the directions for these just so we are practicing both of the skills that we've worked on this week. So with 4, 5, and 6, let's rearrange. To isolate the y. So we're going to follow those directions, and so I'm going to work an example with you for that one as well. Let me fold my paper here. All right, so for number 4, again, I'm going to show my work on notebook paper. Okay, so I have 2x minus y equals 6. And since I'm going to rearrange this to isolate the y, I'm going to have to move my x term to the other side. So I'll work this one out with pencil. All right, so here's my fence. So I need to move this term over here. So I'm going to subtract it since it's positive. Don't get confused with this sign, that belongs to the y. So you're subtracting 2x from both sides. Cross your 2x out. Bring this down with the minus sign. So you have negative y equals, and then over here you're going to write negative 2x, and since your 6 is positive, it's plus 6. So remember, your goal is to get y equals mx plus b, so that's why we're putting the x term in front of the 6. All right, so I have one more step left, and that's to divide everything by negative 1. So this negative y, it's like having a negative 1 there. And I need to get rid of that. So when I divide by negative 1, I get a positive y equals, and then negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2x, and then 6 divided by negative 1 is minus 6. So here is my equation, and I have isolated the y. So remember, this is putting it in slope-intercept form, because what we can see here is our slope m. So the slope m equals 2, or 2 over 1. And the b right here is our y-intercept. So our y-intercept, which is the b, is negative 6. So we're going to go ahead and graph using the slope and the y-intercept on this one. So again, let's look at our graph and see what size we're going to need here, where we're going to put our x and y axis. So this time I want to be able to count down to negative 6. So I'm going to this time start my graph. I think my x-axis, I think I'm going to start it right here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my y-axis there. All right, so I think I'll be able to count these by ones. And remember, these are negative here. So I'm just going to number some of these. All right, so I'm going to start with my y-intercept, which is negative 6. I'm going to come down and put a point at negative 6. And then my slope is 2, or 2 over 1. So I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to run 1. So I'm going up 2 and right 1. So from here I'm going to go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. And then you can draw your line, and there you go. So with 5 and 6, use this method, and you're getting practice on both of the skills that we've worked on this week, and we'll just do 1 through 6 today. And if you haven't finished your Delta Math assignment, make sure you log in and finish that as well. And happy Friday. We've made it through 2 weeks.